you for your patience. Apologies for lateness. You'll be aware that Andy has hot-footed it straight from Nottingham from Hustings meeting earlier today. So welcome to all of you. We'll try and get going as quickly as possible. Welcome you to Braunstone Civic Centre, home of Braunstone Town Council. I'm chairing today. My name's Sam Maxwell. I'm a councillor here on the Town Council and also a councillor on the Labour District Council and recently become leader of the Labour group at Labour District. For those of you that aren't aware, we're a very strong Labour group here. All 21 seats at the Town Council now are back in Labour hands. We're rather much of a red blot on the landscape, which is a deep blue of Labour District, part of South Leicestershire. So, just a bit of official business first. In the event of the fire alarm going off, fire exits quite obviously are at each side of the end of the hall, or else make your way out through the main entrance by the foyer there. Okay, well we're very pleased to get started. I'll introduce our first guest, sitting to my right here, one of Leicester's outstanding political figures, first elected to Leicester City Council all the way back in 1973. Became leader only 8 years later. Am
I allowed to say that I was 3 then?
Only, I think it was 8 years or so later, he became leader of the City Council, a job which he continued to do for 17 or so years after that. Then in 2005, he was elected as MP for Leicester South, an area of Leicester that I was born and brought up in, and he resigned his post there just in 2011 in order to stand for election as Leicester's first elected mayor. He was successful in that venture, and duly elected, he polled 47,000 votes, 55% of the electorate at that time. As you'll be no doubt aware, most of you here, he was then re-elected in the elections in May, again polling 55% of the vote, but this time 71,000 voters supported him. During his time as mayor, and also prior to that, leading the City Council, we've seen many improvements under his tenure. Really trying to come to meet his vision of making Leicester a really vibrant and diverse place where people want to live and work. No stranger to us here in Braunstone Town. He's been in this building many a time, and although we're just outside of the city boundary and pleased and proud to be part of Leicestershire, Peter has very often been out on the doorsteps with us, supporting us in many campaigns over the years. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome him back and to present to Sir Peter Salisbury.
Thank you very much, Sam, and thank you for inviting me this afternoon. It's particularly good to come from that other blot on the Tory landscape, immediately adjacent here to this particular blot, which, as you've said, Sam, is one I've visited on many times in the past, and it's always a pleasure to come back here and to see a lot of people who have a lot of admiration for and have worked very closely with over the years. Now, you haven't really come to hear me, and I was very tempted to keep this very short and just simply to hold that up. I could just do that and sit down, but I think probably a few words of explanation just might help, because I've known Andy for many years now, served with him for a few years at least in the Commons. We've seen him close up, seen him on television, and I've seen that what you see on television is the real Andy, and he is for real. He's Labour through and through, and his passion comes through in everything he does and everything he says, nationally and at a personal level as well. I've seen him as, first of all, an effective junior minister, later as an effective cabinet minister, and now it's very effective speaking for Labour in opposition. And I'm delighted to be able to be here today to endorse his campaign. In Leicester and here in Braunstone Town, we know a lot of the realities of having a Tory government. We see it, we see what it's doing to the people that we speak for and we want to help. In Leicester, do you know how much we're losing every year under this Tory government out of our ability to help the people of our city? £150 million. Now, you don't cut £150 million by buying less paper clips. What it's doing is putting pressure on the city, on the most vulnerable in the city, the children, the elderly. And of course, what we're seeing here in Braunstone Town, down in Leicester, is what's happening in towns and cities up and down the land. And what we desperately need here in Braunstone Town and in Leicester is a Labour government. So, how do we get a Labour government? Well, one of the first steps we need is to choose the leader, somebody who will deliver us a Labour government. Somebody who can be, and will be seen to be, a potential Labour Prime Minister. And Andy's that person. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. The poll in The Independent, I think some of you will have seen last week, clearly picked him out as the one who is most likely to attract voters back to Labour. And we do need to attract them back, of course we do. We've got to look at what happened back at the last election. But look what happened when we lost the election before. We've got to say to ourselves, as Andy is saying to us all, how do we get those voters back? And I am firmly convinced that Andy has the passion, has the understanding, has the wisdom, and has the ability to attract those voters back to Labour and to make sure that we all, in Braunstone Town, in Leicester, and across the country, are able to begin the task of repairing the damage that the Tories are doing to those who we, as Labour members, as Labour representatives, seek to represent. I'm absolutely delighted that Andy's able to come here today, spend some time with us. I hope you too will be supporting him. I have absolutely no doubt that what this party needs is a strong leader, is a firm leader, is a leader who understands the people that we seek to speak for and to fight for. And I'm firmly convinced the only person who ticks all those boxes, who will lead us to victory at the next election, is Andy Burnham. Andy, would you like to thank you?
Thank you so much, Peter. What a wonderful introduction. And it's great to see all of you here. It's actually nice for me to be back. I came on my last leadership campaign to this very building. I think I was in the broom cupboard last time with about five people, so progress. I think it's obvious, but wonderful that you've given me your time this afternoon to explain what this change is that I want to bring to our great party. And I'll explain that briefly, but then we want to hear your thoughts and comments on it, or anything else you want to get into your questions. But I want to begin by saying thanks to Sam, but to Sir Peter for a wonderful introduction, and it is so important to me to have his support, as well as other leading figures in this area. Willie Back, everyone will know, goes by the handle Fight Back on Twitter, and that's what Labour has got. He's leading from the front for Labour, and that's what we've got to be all about now, isn't it? Fight Back. Group say Amanda Hack as well here, who stood for us. You know, I feel for all those candidates who stood for us a few weeks ago, we all owe them a huge debt of thanks, because there was such a fantastic campaigning effort all over the country. And as Peter was just saying, we're not going to let this happen again, are we? Because we're sick of losing now, aren't we? And actually, who's losing? It's the people out there in places like this, isn't it? By not having a Labour government. So this time, we've got to get it right. We've got to get the Labour Party in a position to win whenever that election comes, if it's in 5 years' time or maybe sooner. We've got to get ourselves ready to win now. And that's what I've just said to the hustings in Nottingham. I'm not running a campaign just to win this contest. I'm running a campaign to win for you, to win for Labour in 2020, to win for the people in Braunstone, but also across this wider area. Because, you know, what we're going to see done to local government, to the most vulnerable, is going to be devastating in the next few years. And this time we can't let them down, we've got to come back. And, you know, part of that is facing up to the things that we need to face up to as a party. We've got to get back in touch with the public on issues like the economy, economic competence, immigration, yes, and I can talk more about this afternoon, but you know, we can't not deal directly with those issues. And that is some of the change that I offer. We do have to go to those issues. But here's the difference. Labour answers. I am Labour through and through, as Peter says. Let's develop Labour answers to those challenges. Answers that you can be proud of, so that you don't have to avoid people's eyes on your doorstep. Labour can't carry on like this, can it? It looks like there's issues we won't talk about, or we're frightened of talking about. We've got to get our pride and our confidence back, and be proud on those doorsteps, and be able to speak to people directly. And if they don't like what we're saying, well, fine. We've set our position out. What we have looked like to people for too long now is a Westminster elite. That is how we've looked, I'm afraid to say it. This is the hardest truth of all. Labour has become to look like a political elite, talking in a language that the public don't understand. And this cannot carry on. We cannot carry on with the public having that impression of us. Millions of people out there have lost their emotional connection with the Labour Party. How many times did you hear it on doorsteps just a few weeks ago? My dad did, my granddad did. They always voted Labour, but you know, I'm not there this time. I must have heard that 1,000 times. Here in the Midlands, in the South, in the North, in Scotland, people have lost a sense of who we are and what we're all about. And we cannot go into a European referendum campaign looking like we're part of a cosy Westminster elite like happened in Scotland, and then you get UKIP standing outside saying, well, they don't speak for you anymore, we speak for you now, we're the People's Party now. We can't let it happen, and that's why the challenge is so urgent. So this is the change that I am offering you and will bring for you as leader of the Labour Party. I will end this idea of Labour as a Westminster elite. I will be a leader people can relate to. And I believe I've got a voice that can carry into all the nations and regions of the country. I am going to make some real changes. Labour will look, sound and feel different under my leadership. It will. I will have a front bench full of accents and diversity that reflects the country, that speaks to people in a way that they understand. Simple change, but one we need to make as quickly as possible. I will do something else as well. Do you know, I've seen in Westminster, through the years I've been there, the 15 or so years I've been there, and actually indeed all the years I've been a member of the Labour Party, this distrust that the centre, that London and Westminster has of Labour local government. And that cannot carry on, because it corrodes politics at a local level, where we leave Peter battling on his own with cuts on the scale that he just mentioned, where we're almost kind of disowning local government. We did it, didn't we, with the trade unions? It was part of New Labour, wasn't it? It was so we distanced ourselves from our trade union colleagues, and we distanced ourselves from loony Labour local government. That's what happened, but that hasn't changed ever since, and we have a situation now where at local level councils are struggling. Politics is struggling because councils don't have the ability now to change the lives of people out there. They're underfunded. They don't have the powers. And that's because Westminster has never trusted local government properly. So I'm going to set out in a speech later this week a big change for the Labour Party on local government. I'm going to set out a new relationship, a new settlement with local government, where we return some powers to Peter so that he can get on with the job of improving lives of people here, regardless of what anyone in London or Westminster say. So, for instance, the freedom to borrow money to build council housing. That is a change that is so urgent. If we'd have listened to our own grassroots, our own councillors, when we were in government, we would have built more council housing much earlier, and we wouldn't have a housing crisis on the scale that we have now in this country. A simple change, but I'm going to set out more plans. more plans to integrate health and social care, commissioning with a single budget, powers to change the high street and make sure that it's not just fast food and bookies that line all of our high streets. I want Peter to have powers to change this place. And you know what? If we do that, people might start believing in politics again. They might think it's worth voting at a local level if you can vote to change things, to change your community. What is so corrosive of politics at the moment is people just think there's no point voting. They're all the same, they can't do anything. And this is the big change that we've got to make. We've just got to change the way the party has been in all of these years. Now, I'm not somebody. I served in the last Labour government. I was proud to do that. And we made so many changes that improved this country immeasurably. I mean, take the National Health Service. It was on its knees in 1997. You know, the Tories say, don't they, Labour should have fixed the roof while the sun was shining. I say back to that, we did fix those roofs. The roofs of the schools, the hospitals. That era of neglect of our public services and our public fabric, we did fix those roofs. We left an NHS that had the lowest ever waiting list, the highest ever public satisfaction. Think about that, the changes that we made. But you know, we didn't get everything right. And as I say, the party lost touch with its own grassroots, its own heartbeat, if you like. And the best illustration of it that I can give you is this. We were so close at times to vested interests in business and the media that we couldn't hear our own people. The city where I was born, crying injustice through those Labour years, but we didn't do anything about it. Now, I, in the end, was in a position where I could do something about it, and I did. And I'm not saying that to seek any credit. I'm saying it because that is where we had got to. We had got to a position where we weren't able to listen to our own people. We were so distant from what they were saying. I played a part with my good friend Steve Rotherham over here, and we did change things. We took on the establishment and we reopened the inquiry into Hillsborough. I just say that to say, well, you know, if you elect me as the leader of the Labour Party, I promise you all, every single one of you in this room, that won't change. That won't change. I won't change. That will be the man that you're electing. I am true to my roots. When I was forced to choose between the establishment in Westminster or the people who put me where I am, you saw what I chose. That is me. That is what I am all about. And I think that's what we have got to be all about. We have got to rebuild from the bottom up, haven't we? We've got to give power down to Peter, to his counterparts across this country. We've got to trust our own party again. Trust the grassroots of our party to get things right, to rebuild this great party of ours from the bottom up. You know, that is the change that I am offering you as leader of the Labour Party. We can't carry on as we are. You know, I think we took a view after the 2010 election that this was the lowest that we were going to go. You know, that we just had to identify 106 seats and we'd win some of them back and we might get back into government. Here's an illustration of how far out of touch the party was. It didn't see the damage that UKIP was doing to seats that we even held. It didn't even have an understanding of that as an issue. Bolton West is the seat next door to me, and one of the wards in Bolton West used to be in my constituency. I was knocking on doors there a month before polling day, and I was speaking to people who I knew them, and they voted Labour in the past, and they said that to me, not this time, Andy, we're not there. You don't know how life is changing here. You don't know, you're not in touch with us. You know, you don't see how wages are being undercut, how immigration has changed our community, and you lot, when you go on the telly and say it's all fine, you just don't understand people like me anymore. I rang the Labour Party and I said, have you got Bolton West on your radar? Do you know what's happening in seats like that? Yeah, it's fine, we're going to win by 4,000, stop panicking. We lost a Labour-held seat because of UKIP taking votes off us to let the Tories in. And it happened elsewhere as well. Across the East Midlands, UKIP polled far too many. Now, we can't carry on like this. We cannot carry on like this. This party has to learn to listen to its own grassroots again. It's far too out of touch. It is too London-centric. It has been for too long. We need to change that. We need to take people out of the head office and put them into our regional Labour Party offices to rebuild there as well. These are the changes that we have to make now. So that's what I'm saying to you. That is what I offer. I don't do it to copy UKIP, out UKIP, or copy the Tories. As Peter said, Labour through and through. I want Labour answers to the big challenges that we face. And that is what I will offer you as leader of the Labour Party. But what I will also offer you is a party that I will put the pride back into this party. I will get it up from where we are now. I'll get it off the floor. We'll stop beating ourselves up. We go out there with pride and belief in our values. We have the best values of any political party. We have the best people. It's time to be proud of who we are and what we're all about, and get back in touch with the people out there so that we can win and that we can change their lives for the better, as Labour governments have done in the past. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you for being here, and I'm ready to take any questions or comments that any of you have got. Thank you very much.